When it was previously made public that the VTuber company AkioAir hired a minor, I made it very clear that I hated that. Myself and basically the entire internet were not comfortable with the fact that they were hiring someone who is reportedly 15 years old being in such an explicitly 18 plus place. Now, I didn't want to make any specific accusations in the previous video I made about them because, of course, that would just be slander. Because I had no proof of my assumptions, only bad vibes. And bad vibes are not news. However, it seems that my bad vibes might have been justified, as one of the talents of AkioAir is indeed leaving the company, and the accusations that they aim at this company are pretty damning. Now, before I continue, I want to make it very clear that these are just accusations, there is no evidence provided, and there is always the possibility that this person is either straight up lying or exaggerating the truth to make themselves seem like more of the victim, because obviously if you are passing as a victim on the internet, you can get a bunch of clout for it and ruin the reputation of a company that you just personally do not like. However, I personally, even though there is no explicit proof of any of these claims, happen to find this list of accusations persuasive and happen to believe them, but I just want you to think critically before taking everything stated as truth, even though I am about to assume everything stated is true. Does that make sense? Let's continue. So the talent in question is Night Owl Athena, also known as Athy, and she has this to say about her experience with AkioAir. She of course announces that she will no longer be associating with AkioAir. She states that she is, quote, fed up with all the legal threats and emotional abuse that I and the other talents of AkioAir have been receiving from the company. Notably, the company refuses to pay me on time, they have failed to support my projects several times, they string me along and tell me it's not a good time, and they seem to see me as just another employee for them to take advantage of and exploit. A pretty scathing accusation all on its own, but we have more, as it seems that the final straw for this content creator was the final straw for the rest of us as well, as they are quoted as saying, AkioAir announced on September 5th acknowledging hiring a minor for our second generation of talents, which I was unaware of until the actual post on Twitter. Wait, what? What? I had always assumed that when new talents were brought onto a VTuber agency, that there was a brief period of introducing everyone to everyone else, so you could make sure that everybody vibes together and smooth out any potential issues before everybody goes live and goes public. It reinforces the idea that they simply don't care about the company's talents. AkioAir continued to send baseless threats stating that they would sue me due to gross negligence and defamation. However, the company was the one who initially harmed our image as talents contracted under the company name. Damn! I think this is the second time we've witnessed a small VTuber corporation sue their talents. I believe the only other time that comes to mind is Wactor, and they are famously one of the worst VTuber companies out there. So I wanted to draw that comparison here because it sounds like if everything in this statement is true, this might be one of the worst companies to work for. I really like the wording on this next line. They offered an alternative, a way to, quote, possibly agree not to sue me. That's such a scummy way to phrase that. It's like, oh, we're definitely gonna sue you, but there's a way we might possibly not, so long as you follow these criteria. It's just so fucking smug. It's so villainous. Do you know what I mean? It's so like cartoon villain. They told me to shut up and do whatever they say, to stream, to not post, to not talk to anyone. If I do this for at least 2 months, they'll give me a new list of demands for me to comply with. I asked them if I did all this, would they promise not to sue me? Their response, no promises. This is so straight up villainous, if true. I'm not laughing because I think it's funny that this person went through such a terrible, terrible time. I'm laughing because the level of villainy on display here is just so absurd to me personally. I mean, how do you say with a straight face that you expect this person to meet a long list of demands, blatantly blackmailing them, and then when asked, hey, is this blackmail even going to be worth it? They go, I don't know. It's just so... It's bad villainy too, right? Like normal villainy, you just blackmail someone, right? But the incompetence on display to not even blackmail correctly and not even guarantee that they're going to abide by their end of the blackmail conditions. It's just absurd. And I'm so glad I'm not alone here, because even the talent in the letter says, when I told them how absurd that was, that I could do everything they said and they would still come after me, they replied, you were not in a position to make any requests. Wow! Wow! Man, I would make this post in this situation too. The emotional manipulation and abuse didn't stop there. Our CEO, Jason, kept being hostile and personally threatened my livelihood and career as a nurse. What? Then, when I resist his demands, he pretends to be my savior, telling me he's just trying to save me from the legal department and that he is my only hope. How? You can't be a savior if you can't guarantee that you're going to save somebody. That's not how this works, my dude. You're insane. You can't pretend to be the hero when you're so clearly and blatantly being the villain. Delusional. Skipping forward a little bit, the talent says, he has just been wasting my time and at worst turning me into his personal slave. They go on to say that they've been working for this company for 2 years, they're getting treated like dirt and threatened without remorse. I just want Jason and his company to leave me alone. And then the final paragraph is just, I'm not going to give up hope on this community, I love what I do, yada yada yada, you get it. Now, again, not proof of anything, but I personally 100% believe it. So let's take a look at the comments and quote retweets and see if the general public also agrees with my take, which is that this company is probably guilty and fuck them. The top comment is telling her to sue them before they sue you, and I 100% agree. If it is as bad as she says, where it is, quote, being treated like their personal slave, that's definitely lawsuit worthy, at least in America. But granted, the company is based in Taiwan, and who knows what the legal structure is over there, or if this is something you can sue over. As someone who is vehemently anti-corporation in general, I personally love this comment right here. Companies and emotional abuse almost seem to go hand in hand. Yes, they do. Capitalism, man. Fuck it. One day, I hope there emerges a company we can trust, that you can remain healthy and happy going forward and finding your way as an indie. Me too, man. Me too. As much as I genuinely enjoy bashing corporations because I hate them, Rin Penrose makes a lot of comments about her management team, and granted when she does so they're always memes of course, but there's been a lot of posts where she explicitly talks about management in a positive light, where management is even encouraging her to take time off. They tolerate Rin Penrose, which, by God, that must be hard to do because she's very clearly a handful. At least that's how she presents herself.
Should I have asked permission before doing this? Absolutely yes. Did I? Absolutely not. Nobody looks there. I could probably share my manager's home address and you wouldn't notice.
So, since AkioAir is such a small company, she can't do the classic corpo move of graduating and going to VShojo as so many of them do. I would honestly encourage her to apply to Idol Corporation because honestly, out of all the corporations I've seen, Idol is legitimately the only one where talents consistently, one, talk about management at all, and two, continuously praise them. And even me, as someone who explicitly hates corporations on principle, I kind of like Idol Corporation's management and the way their company is structured and the way they treat their talents and the transparency of coming out and telling the public exactly how they split creator revenue. And if you're wondering why I'm talking so much about Idol Corporation, that's because it makes a seamless transition into the next piece of news that I wanted to comment on, which is that Idol Corporation is actually going to pay clippers. You may have seen recently that YouTube is cracking down on clipping channels and demonetizing them because it's not original content. And while in many contexts I think that's a good idea to crack down on people who are re-uploading other people's content, especially in the situations where that YouTuber is being impersonated, I feel like when it comes to the VTuber scene, clipping is insanely important and should not be demonetized and cracked down on at all, because clipping is a vital part of how VTubers get discovered. And here Idol is saying that we know recently it's been difficult to monetize this type of content and often clippers get nothing in return. That's why we want to change. We're excited to announce the Idol Clippers program. Simply put, clip our talent and earn $1 for every 1,000 views your clip receives. Plus, feel free to monetize these clips on YouTube. This is our way of showing gratitude. Now, of course, you do have to apply to become a partnered clipper, and you can't do what I do, which is VTuber news content, and just occasionally sprinkle some Idol Corporation clips on the side. That's not how this works. You gotta be a dedicated clipping channel. But, in my opinion, this is huge news. This is Idol Corporation, yet again, being pretty much the only small corpo I have any respect for. And I specify small corpo because everything I've seen about HoloLive's management and Yagu specifically has been nothing but glowing, and the general consensus is that HoloLive is pretty based. But I gotta say, for a small corporation, considering how often small corporations or even big corporations like Niji Sanji are just so fraught with problems, neglect, poor management, or even straight up abuse, this is so refreshing to see. A company that seems to be doing things right in the VTuber space. You know, anyone who watches this channel knows how much I hate companies and scream from the mountaintops that everyone should go indie. And here I am praising this company, and that should mean something. That is all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye, guys.